old. The people that are perpetrating hate or bias or stereotypes against us are not afraid to use bold action, and we can't be afraid to do that either.
We are continuously being treated as second-hand citizens, which is unacceptable. It's unacceptable, it's unconstitutional. What makes this country so great is the Bill of Rights and our constitutional rights, and we demand our constitutional rights just like all other residents, ethnic or minority groups in this country.
The Council on American Islamic Relations, otherwise known as CAIR, has gone to great lengths on this show and many others, seeking to convince Americans they are here for the peaceful discourse about Muslims and their faith, to tamp down any talk of terrorism or that every Muslim is an enemy. But comments from one of their own and a foreign government have raised the issue once again as to motives. It means we will dig for the facts once again. Let us welcome to MidPoint. He is the Regional Operations Director for CAIR Florida. Nezar Hamze joins us here in the studio. And he is the National Security Analyst for the Clarion Project, who joins us via remote, Ryan Mauro. Gentlemen, I thank you both for being here today. Ryan, thanks so much for being with us here via the remote.
Thank you.
All right. Nezar, I'm going to start with you on this right here because this is a story that caught everybody's attention. This is the United Arab Emirates basically coming out and saying that CAIR is a terrorist organization. It is one of almost 3 dozen that they claim the world needs to be careful of, and that this is a dangerous organization that spreads terrorism and does not look to hold it in check. How do you react when you hear that?
Well, first thing is, God bless America, and thank God we live here in the United States. The first thing I'd like to tell you, Ed, and also the viewers, is we need to understand what CAIR is. CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, was founded in 1994, and there's a chapter at a headquarters or national in D.C. But CAIR is a federation of chapters, similar to how the United States Congress is, organized. We're each individually selected, elected, funded by our local Muslim leadership, and organized as such. I do not report to CAIR in D.C., or California does not report to CAIR Michigan, so on and so forth.
But you're being painted with a broad brush here.
Absolutely. And that's why I said, thank God we live in the United States of America. The reality is this list was very alarming to everyone in the CAIR group. Because when we look at the list, we're like, first, where did this come from? The chapter, or Nihad, CAIR in D.C. has had a long relationship with the UAE and other Middle Eastern countries, because they do, they travel quite a bit, they talk, and the whole mission of CAIR is to enhance the understanding of Islam, to protect the civil liberties and civil rights of Americans, and to build mutual
Then why would they say this? Why, if you have such a close relationship, why would they come out and say that out of 82 groups, not more than 3 dozen, 82 groups are saying that you're terrorists?
Well, I'm for sure I'm not a terrorist, and all the organization, all the other CAIR chapters are not terrorists. But when we study the list and we look at the list, we find it very surprising who's not on the list. Hamas is not on this list of foreign terrorist organizations. And that's one very broad brush that all of the anti-CAIR or anti-Muslim groups use, that CAIR is, has some kind of affiliation with that terrorist organization. So I don't know, it's very arbitrary. We have reached out to the UAE government. CAIR Florida, me myself, have reached out to the UAE government and been asking them for clarification.
Okay, hold that. I'm going to ask you about that. Ryan, let me go ahead and get you now, because we've heard Hamze talking here, and of course, he says that they're completely shocked about this. What's your reaction?
Well, Hamas is a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. When you look at the Hamas charter, they declare that they are a wing of the Muslim Brotherhood. So when the UAE bans the Muslim Brotherhood, they have banned Hamas. Now, the reason that the UAE banned CAIR is because they consider the Muslim Brotherhood now to be a terrorist organization, and they wanted to drive home the point that the Muslim Brotherhood isn't just a Middle Eastern problem, that they have affiliates in Europe and the United States.
But what about CAIR itself? What about CAIR itself, Ryan? Do you see then CAIR as a terrorist organization?
Give me 1 second. And the CAIR itself is part of that Muslim Brotherhood network here in the United States. We know this because when the U.S. government prosecuted the Holy Land Foundation, part of the Brotherhood network financing Hamas, they labeled CAIR as an unindicted co-conspirator in that trial, but more importantly, they officially listed CAIR as an entity of the U.S. Muslim Brotherhood, specifically its Palestine committee that was set up to advance Hamas. Here's a quote from federal prosecutors from another court case in 2007. This is federal prosecutors.
20 seconds.
From its founding by Muslim Brotherhood leaders, CAIR conspired with other affiliates of the Muslim Brotherhood to support terrorists. The conspirators agreed to use deception to conceal from the American public their connections to terrorists. So the UAE is operating off of facts that were confirmed by the U.S. Justice Department.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you to stand by because we have to take a break. Nezar, you stand by as well, chomp at the bit as well, because I know you want to answer that as well. Both gentlemen remain with us after the break, where the entire CAIR organization may have to answer for the comments of one of their own and for what the UAE has said here. And of course, Nezar wants to answer. And at 43 minutes after the hour, using the constitutional card to make the president back down on executive action. That and a lot more right here on MidPoint.